Hello and welcome, my name is In It for the Spooks, and tonight I will be your narrator. Now, on this very fine evening, I will be narrating to you an original creepypasta written by yours truly. Now, let's get into If You Come Across My Little Brother, I Am Sorry. My name is Luca Martinez, and my little brother is missing. Kinda. Luke is 10 years old and is about 5 foot, give or take an inch or two. He has short, wavy, dark brown hair that accentuates his freckles. His emerald eyes are hard to miss. If you encounter him, I am deeply sorry, because you will probably die. No, he isn't some deranged, okay, maybe a little deranged, psychopath. Well, at least before he wasn't. Sorry, this isn't making sense. Starting from the beginning will make this easier to explain. Luke and I grew up like a typical family nowadays. Sure, there was some family scuffles, but we worked through them. Our parents were strict, but loving and fair. Mom is a detective for the LAPD, and our dad was a scientist who worked with some big pharma company that is very secretive and had him sign a bunch of NDAs. Everything was fine and dandy until my dad fucking cracked like a coconut. My dad kidnapped Luke when he found out our mom was investigating him. They'd been investigating some missing persons cases, and in one way or another, all of the other victims were traced to the pharmaceutical company my dad worked for. I believe one was the test subject for some medicine trials, and another worked for one of the pharmacies close by. I don't really know much since my mother grabbed the file away from me before I could finish reading it. These aren't for you to read. It's classified information and I could lose my job for this, she scolded. I mean, the big red classified letters on the off-white manila folder just draws you in and entices you to read the precious cargo inside. I've become well known with case and incident reports over the years. My mother knows I'm a junkie for true crime and will sometimes leave folders open for me to find and read. This time, however, I knew she meant it and I wasn't supposed to read it. If I knew what was good for me and not wanting to be in a fighting match with my mom's chancla, I would leave it alone and forget about it. Sorry for the tangent. I'm pretty sure this is some sort of reflex or coping mechanism for my current situation. 2 days after finding the case file, my dad fled with my brother in tow. My mom was at the station for another long night, and we were both in our rooms. I was dead asleep until I half woke up to some noises coming from Luke's room. I brushed it off as him being an idiot and throwing a fit after losing some game. He's an iPad kid. I was about to get up and yell at him, but I was too tired and exhausted to put in the effort of a brotherly beat-up session. About 10 minutes later, our house was swarmed with cops and detectives swarming the house. "Luca, have you seen your brother?" my mother yelled, barging in and flooding my once dark room with light. "He was in the room last time I checked," I responded groggily. "What's going on?" I asked. My mother was frantic. "I'll explain later, but we have to find your father and brother. Luke's in danger." She then took off down the stairs. While CSI was looking for clues on where they could be and looking for more evidence on how my dad was somehow connected to all this, my mother was driving around town looking for her criminal husband and helpless child. Well, they eventually found them, but as you can probably guess, it didn't end well. They found them in a warehouse belonging to the company he worked for. It looked like an occult ritual had taken place from what I heard. The metallic smell of animal blood everywhere, candles littered the place, a little shrine in front of a pentagram. In the middle of said pentagram, they found my brother shirtless, disheveled, and drenched in blood. He was also riddled with trauma. The whole ordeal ended with a shootout. With a bullet between the eyes and a wide grin and manic look on his face, my dad was dead. I shudder every time I see the evidence photo of his face. Needless to say, my family was left in shambles after that. My brother looked gaunt and sickly for a few days while in the hospital. He was poked and prodded, but he was given a clean bill of health. Countless child psychologists visited him while he was there. He hasn't really been the same since. Quiet, withdrawn, a bit creepy. He used to be so fun-loving, talkative, and spunky. Just so full of life. My mother was distraught. Her husband of almost 20 years was dead and gave his youngest son a lifetime of trauma in one night. It looked like he was about to sacrifice Luke to fucking Satan, and he murdered those 2 missing people. She blames herself for not catching it sooner and letting this happen. She's on paid leave for a bit and keeps treating us to stuff we would never do. And I'm trying to be the glue that holds the pieces of this family together. So how exactly does this tie into my brother being homicidal and missing? Is it because he was almost sacrificed to some demonic god by his own dad and almost died? Well, yes. And no. You see, Luke wasn't there to be sacrificed as some offering. He was there for a ritual to be used as some sort of vessel. He'd been his new usual self, silent and creepy, when my mom proposed going to a movie together. It wasn't really a choice, but I enjoyed the thought of leaving this depressing house. It was some new superhero movie that everyone was dying to see. We got our tickets and food and tally-hoed to the room the movie was playing in. About halfway through the movie, Luke tugged on my mom's black and white striped sweater sleeve. I gotta pee, Luke said, quiet and all innocent-like. That was one of the first sentences he'd said that day. My mother turned her head towards me. Take him to the bathroom, please. I was really into the movie and didn't want to miss anything, though, I argue back. He's old enough to go by himself. She gives me a stern look, and I immediately draw my white flag. I begrudgingly get up and make my way to the bathrooms. Little Luke played follow the leader. I waited right outside the door for him to finish taking a leak. A minute later, an older man went in. I was a bit paranoid, but blew it off a second later. It had been some time. There was a clock on the wall, and it had been 5 agonizingly long minutes, and I was standing there against the wall with my arms crossed and eyes rolled, contemplating just going back to my seat. I heard some weird noises from inside and acted. I swear to God I couldn't deal with an old creep assaulting my brother on top of everything else. I didn't find an old man coming onto my brother. Instead, I found the lower half of the old man's body in a pile of fresh blood as the other half was being feasted upon by a giant mouth replacing my brother's abdomen. The mouth was filled with sharp, pointy teeth, and I could see a tendril-like tongue licking the flesh of the old man. Before I could say or do anything, another tendril tongue shot towards me. The next thing I knew, I was staring in front of the credits rolling up from the end of the movie. What just happened, I thought. My mother caught notice of my expression and jokingly said, "You look like you've seen a ghost. This was an action movie, not a scary movie." I just let out a nervous laugh. I keep telling myself what I saw was a dream, and that I had fallen asleep while watching the movie, but Luke kept stalking me, like he was waiting for something to happen. Well, something did happen, at 3 a.m. this morning. Stressed out of a dream reliving the events of the movie theater bathroom, Luke was standing right beside me, just staring. I jumped a little. "Luke, what the hell?" I questioned. "It's time to feed," he said back with a devilish grin. He then just up and left out my window, which is on the 2nd floor. I looked down and there wasn't any trace of him. I put 2 and 2 together when a searing hot pain filled my belly. I watched in horror as my stomach opened up, revealing a mouth filled with spiky teeth and a slimy tongue. Luke did something to me in that bathroom. The same thing my father did to him. So, if you find my little brother Luke, I am sorry. You are probably going to die because he is going to slice you in half and then eat you and bring the rest to me. I don't want to be like him, though. The whispers keep talking to me, promising power and great things, but I know they're lies. As I write this out, I've been struck with an idea. While I've become some kind of Cthulhu and Kraken love child, I will use this to stop my brother. I hope I have the willpower to do so, but I'm feeling peckish. Mind over matter, as they say. Well, I hope you enjoyed tonight's story, and thank you for listening. Please consider subscribing, dropping a like, and leaving a comment down below. My name is In It for the Spooks, and please remember to stay spooky.